Hello, everyone. Welcome to our International Women's Day protest safety training. I'm Risa. I am the digital manager here at Women's March. And so I'm excited to be with you here tonight. Thank you for being with us on a Friday night. It is International Women's Day weekend. So this training is really important to get grounded, to make sure that we are feeling secure and ready for anything that comes our way this weekend. So tell us where you're coming from in the chat and tell us how you're taking action for International Women's Day this weekend. I'm going to pop that question up in the banners. Let us know. Really excited to see you all here with us tonight. Now, remember, the chat is a community place. We want the chat to look like the community we're trying to build. So the way that you talk to us, the way that you talk to each other is the community that you're building. Consider if that's what you want it to be, because we are also very heavy-handed on the ban hand. So if you are trolling, if you are not being your best self to each other, we have no problem cutting that off and cutting it out. So again, if you're spamming the chat too, even if we're aligned, even if we're, on the playing for the same team here, as we all are, because you're here, if you're spamming the chat and flooding the chat and making it so that nobody else can actually be part of the conversation, cutting it off too. If you would prefer to use or to watch this with captions, please join us over on Facebook. Facebook has captions. YouTube has not caught up to that in real time yet, unfortunately for all of us. Of course, come to this conversation with curiosity. Be in community with each other. Don't make assumptions about what you think people might be feeling or saying. Ask questions, be curious, be genuine with each other, and, come at this with good intentions. Now, at the end of the night, we will have a Q&A. We can't necessarily answer every question that comes into the chat, but please do ask your questions, and we will answer them as we can. We may not stop the presentation to answer your questions. So just know, you don't have to spam the same question over and over, especially if a lot of people are asking it. We'll probably come back to that question at the end of the last 10 minutes for Q&A. And of course, thanks for being here. It is, like I said, a Friday night, but it's International Women's Day weekend. We want to give you the tools to be ready, feel prepared, and to be able to self-regulate, be ready for whatever comes at you. So let's check out who's here. We are so excited. I'm coming to you from Albuquerque, so really excited that you're going to be caravanning to Zorro Ranch with us from ABQ. Seeing a Seattle event at Cal Anderson Park. We've got, let's see, I saw another really cool one. There is a march in New Orleans on Sunday, ICE protest on Saturday, and interfaith vigil against ICE on Sunday. Y'all are getting busy this weekend. We have a lot going on. Hello from SoCal. Put up flyers to bring awareness about the files. Yes, that is one way to do direct action. There is a Crystal made a 14-foot banner that says justice for the Epstein victims for Sunday. Amazing. We're so excited to have so many people here with us in Albuquerque. It is going to be a huge day. We are so thrilled to have some really incredible people joining us, yourselves included in this caravan. Let's see. We've got people marching on Saturday in Seattle. Thank you so much for getting out there. It's going to be a busy weekend, and it looks like everybody's doing some really cool stuff. Mesquite, Nevada rally too. What's happening in Denver? That's a great question. Now, as we get going, let me tell you where you can find more information of what's happening near you. Go to bravewomen.us. bravewomen.us. I'm going to look for that banner too. There we go. Find a host in action. Join us at bravewomen.us. You'll find more information there, including a link to the map that will will help you find something that is close to you. So as we get into the night, I just want to get us grounded in what we're here for tonight and give you an idea of what you're going to be learning. Actually, Kala is going to be able to tell you even more because he's our trainer tonight, or they're our trainer tonight. We are really excited to have them back with us and to show us how to be safe in a protest setting. We're going to be learning some techniques and tools to stay present, safe, and in control at protests. So I'm going to hand it over to Kala.
Thank you so much, Risa. If we were in a in-person setting, I'd say let's give Risa some love. I just want to say thank you everyone for spending your evening with us, going over ways to keep yourself and others safe as you engage in direct actions on the ground before and on International Women's Day. My name is Kala. I am going to be your trainer tonight, and I've been engaged in this work since the late 90s, primarily around anti-globalization and anti-WTO, World Trade Organization actions, and since then have been working alongside training and supporting communities around the world and at the front lines of justice. So today's training is on de-escalation and protective interventions. Before we jump into the content of the training, I wanted to give some historical context to show where the training methodology arrives from. So in the chat, I would like for folks to just drop in what they see happening in this historic photo. Once again, in the chat, please drop in what they see happening in this photo. We'll give folks a few moments. And if you're watching this after the fact, please feel free to jot it down. We'll make sure we have some spaces throughout for folks to take down and record and engage with this training after today's training itself. Thank you so much. The lunch counter protest, a sit-in, civil rights lunch counter protest, definitely. So I'm sure most folks here are aware that these actions did not happen in a vacuum, and they were not sporadic. They were the work of organizers training and supporting one another in order to be able to address the violence of the state and non-state actors. So the state is the government, state security forces like the police, and non-state actors would be white supremacists like the KKK and the everyday racists that you see in the photo. It's important to note that what we're going to be going over in today's training is nothing new. In the photos that you see in front of you are civil rights activists and organizers at the Highlander Center who are with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, putting themselves through very stressful scenarios to understand how they resist and how they can maintain nonviolent discipline in the face of violence and aggression. In the first image to your left is an individual that's sitting down and her comrade is covering her from the other activist who's playing the role of a police officer. In the next photo on your right are two comrades blowing smoke, putting a cigarette very, very close to the activist's face. And if you can see, she's maintaining that same discipline and that same sense of de-escalation and not responding back and keeping a disciplined approach at this direct action. For all of the organizers and activists that took part in lunch counter sit-ins, they knew that in order to shift the narrative and to get as many people on the side of justice, it was very important to unmask the casual brutality of racism in the United States at the time. and quite frankly, racism that continues to this day. We're going to be going over some techniques on de-escalation and protective interventions that are both inspired, informed, and really pull from the lessons learned by Black organizers during the civil rights movement, by organizers and activists at the front lines across the world. A little bit of background on myself. I've been doing these de-escalation intervention trainings since the late 90s, worked with Chinese, Tibetan, and Taiwanese folks prior to the Beijing 2008 Olympics in order to be able to do protests in Beijing during that summer. Was invited by the community alongside human rights observers to Ferguson during the uprising following the murder of Michael Brown by Darren Wilson, and most recently working with communities from New York to San Diego to be able to prepare for state and non-state actor violence, whether that's from ICE or whether that's from everyday racists that we see out of, I was going to say costume, but out of uniform. So in today's training, you're going to be leaving with some basic de-escalation and intervention tools and a better understanding of how you respond to aggression. Today's training is about identifying, cultivating, and strengthening tools you already have and have used to mitigate violence in a protest scenario. We're really going to be just focusing on a protest scenario. Many folks are organizing actions all over the country. Some folks are preparing for some potential conflict to arise. So that's really the lens that we're going to be looking at this entire training from. This training is not about conflict resolution. It is not about, quote unquote, de-escalating state security forces or policing tone or rage or trying to control others. So when you see this icon, the little notebook and pen icon, please grab your pen and paper or a worksheet. If you're watching this after March 6th, you should have access to the worksheet that outlines all of the questions, and it's a tool that you can bring back to your community and share everything that you've learned here with them. So very briefly, de-escalation in this context is your ability to cool down or regulate yourself and those you are in right relationship with. What right relationship means is you actually have a equal relationship with folks in terms of power. So if you are an organizer of a International Women's Day action, your fellow organizers are folks that you're in right relationship with. You may not necessarily be super buddy-buddy, but the fact that you're in this space, that you're focused on a issue that's larger than yourselves means that you're in right relationship. Protective interventions are taking action to proactively disrupt violence before it happens to others. It's important to name these two terms and to really classify that de-escalation does not mean that I'm going to de-escalate someone else who is intent on causing harm. Rather, I'm going to de-escalate myself so I can be cool, calm, collected, and connected, trust my instincts, move through a plan of action, and then take action. One important key in practicing de-escalation then intervention is practicing situational awareness at all times. If you are part of the mass call that happened at the end of January, we went over situational awareness, but I'm going to keep it a bit truncated for folks that may not have joined. But when you're practicing situational awareness, this is in essence understanding what's happening around you, but also what's happening within you. You want to make sure to turn it on and then off. The reason being is that when you turn on your situational awareness, you are telling your body and yourself, I'm going to be scanning for some potential threats on the horizon. When you turn it off, that means I'm allowing my situational awareness to turn off. I'm in a safe location, and I am no longer scanning for threats when there are no threats on the horizon. The reason that we we say turn it off and we repeat it when you're on a safety team is your body could continue to scan for those threats when you're at home and when you're safe, and could put you into a state of hypervigilance when you are, if you are in a space where you are already safe. So you never want to put yourself into a state of hypervigilance. You want to turn it on as soon as you arrive on the ground, and then you want to turn it off as soon as you are home safe. When you're practicing situational awareness, that means checking in with yourself and your buddy and your team. So if I'm at an action with myself and my buddy, because we don't go to actions alone, then that means that I'm checking in to make sure that I'm good, I'm okay. If I have experienced state violence in the past, I want to make sure that I'm not getting activated or triggered. If I'm checking in with my buddy and they might be new to going to a protest, and this might be because they're so angry, and this is the first time that they're feeling a sense of um, agency, it's important to let them know it's okay to feel the things and to communicate that, and to also express what their needs are. If they're someone that has been formerly incarcerated or is um, uh, of multiple marginalized identities, they might say, actually, I don't feel safe right now because I can see a line of police officers across the street and they're moving towards us. So when we're practicing situational awareness, we're sharing, we're checking in, and we're communicating. You want to practice the lifeguard scan. So what I want to invite for folks to do is you can either rise up or be in your uh, right in front of your computer, and you're going to put your two fingers in front of you like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to allow your view and your eyes to just relax a bit. You're not staring, but you're able to see everything kind of around you. And you're going to pull both of your fingers to the sides until you can no longer see them, and you just allow them to drop. That is your 170-degree range of vision. When you're practicing a lifeguard scan, you want to know what your range of vision is. Then you want to practice looking close to far, close to far. So let's practice that together. So look close to your computer and then far from it, maybe to the other side of the room, close to far. Then you want to look across. So if you can imagine you're at the action, there's thousands of beautiful people with gorgeous signs that are out in the streets. You want to scan from one end to the other, one end to the other, so across. And then lastly, from the floor to the tops of folks' heads, from the floor to tops of folks' heads. This helps you, one, prevent any kind of like observational fatigue, and two, really gives you a broad range of data to see what is happening in the moment. And if you attended the mass call or have attended other Women's March trainings, you'll know that situational awareness is about identifying what's happening around you. The next step in practicing situational awareness at all times is communicate, communicate, communicate. That means if you see something that is off or that you're feeling like, hey, there's a bunch of guys that just got out of a car. They all have podcasting equipment. They don't look like there are people, but we don't know them. We've never seen them in our town before. And they're just like showing up with huge cameras. You want to communicate that out to your comrades and to the other organizers that you're working with. They can be friendly or very unfriendly podcasters. So remember, communicate, communicate, communicate. And then lastly, practicing the OODA loop. The OODA loop stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. This is a crisis decision-making tool that if you are pushed outside of your window of tolerance, which we'll talk about in just a few slides, it's something that you can fall back on and help you get to a safer location. An example of how I've used this in the past is back in 2014 when I was with human rights observers in Ferguson. It was, I believe it was in September. No, it was August. And it was extremely hot and humid. And we had gone down West Florissant and we heard two shots above our head, two gunshots above our head. We don't know who shot what, and no one was hit, thankfully. And because everyone was practicing their situational awareness and that they were observing, we all knew that there was a ditch about 6 feet to our right. If we hit the ground and rolled into the ditch, we would be safe. So we observed, what was happening, we oriented to the situation, we decided to hit the ground and roll in, and we took action and acted. And the reason that it's a loop is because you don't stop your situational awareness or the OODA loop until you are home safe. The reason that we talk about the OODA loop is when we are in a role of safety, or if you are an organizer, it's very important to try to take in as much information in your environment as possible if you're tasked with the safety and security of your community. So we talked about understanding what's happening around us. What did I mean when I said understanding what's happening within you? So your window of tolerance is a psychological framework to understand when you're cool, calm, collected, and connected. Your window of tolerance is expandable. It isn't static. It doesn't stay one way or another. When you are pushed outside of your window of tolerance by a stressor, that could be anything from a red pill podcaster coming up to you, or Proud Boys showing up to the action, or police, ICE, and other state security just flooding an area. You get pushed outside of your window of tolerance, and there are two responses. There's hyperarousal, speeding up, and hypoarousal, slowing down. Hyperarousal can look like fight or flight. Hypoarousal can look like freezing or fawning. Fawning means being overly polite or going into people-pleasing mode. It is very important that folks take note that there is no hierarchy of your survival response. Whichever has kept you and others safe is your survival response. There is no best response. I know sometimes folks are like, oh, I wish I had a fight response. I know for myself, when I have had to deal with aggressors, I go right into fawn, which is like, oh, I'm so sorry. Are you good? Okay, yeah, I'm going to go around this way. So we are not creating a hierarchy. And it's important that as we're looking at safety and security, that it be grounded in Black and Indigenous feminisms that do not prescribe this is the only way to do it, right? Whatever has kept you safe and whatever has helped you survive is your survival response. So it's important to really keep in mind what your survival response is. And I would like to invite folks to either take a look at your floor at a 90-degree angle, or pull out your pen and paper. And you're going to imagine your action that's either happening this weekend or on International Women's Day itself. And I want you to imagine something that might stress you out. That can be something as innocuous as the mics aren't working, or that your phone stopped working because it's so cold, to potential agitators that are dressed up like ICE agents showing up. I want you to just explore what that looks like in your mind. And you are going to think about what happens to you when aggression is directed your way. Do you go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn? So take a moment to think about that. And next, I want you to imagine when aggression happens to others. Do you go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn? Is it different than when aggression happens to you, or is it the same? I know for me, when aggression happens to me, I go into freeze and fawn. But when I see it happen to others, I usually go into fight. So I'm seeing some folks drop in the chat. You're welcome to do that. But also, please feel free to take out your sheet of paper if that helps you to process. So 1, when aggression happens to you. And 2, secondly, write down your survival response when aggression happens to others. I'm seeing some folks say go into fawn also, that they go into fight, don't know, never been tested. That's real, right? And sometimes it's important for us to just be aware that these are the responses that can arise, and we want to think about how we take action from there. Fantastic. I'm seeing fawn and fawn, flight or freeze. Yeah, it's everyone will have a different response. Some folks will have similar for each one. Um, some folks, especially survivors, have had to survive through multiple types of aggression and may have, they know that I go right into fight mode, and then I go into flight mode. So it's important for us to think about and to just honor the fact that our bodies have kept us safe from others and from violence. And once again, there is no hierarchy of responses. Thank you, folks, for sharing. So you've identified your survival responses. So now what do you do with that, right? So when I am on the ground with a safety team, we have a plethora of tools in our toolbox for both self and co-regulation. Self-regulation means I'm going to cool myself down. Co-regulation means I need someone to support me to cool down together. And it's important that the other person also be regulated before supporting you in your regulation. So let me give an example. In 2024, during the university encampments uh, addressing the genocide in Gaza, we were uptown in Manhattan at one of the CUNY schools, and the um, the line of police officers had increased quite exponentially within the 30 minutes that we were there, and immediately saw them coming at all of us, all of the protesters. So I knew that I would go into fawn mode if they came after me, but I also knew that I would go into fight mode if they attacked other folks. So I immediately turned to my buddy who was with me, and I said, "Can we do co-breathing real quick?" What they did is we got back to back, and we took 3 breaths. We just took 3 breaths together. That's it. And that helped me get to a place of de-escalation where I was able to think clearly. I was cool, calm, collected, and connected. So some of the tools that we use, and you might have an entire toolbox yourself, feel free to drop that in the chat. Some tools that I share with folks for self-regulation is humming, or having your hand on your heart and solar plexus while listening to birdsong, or acupressure. These are all things that you can employ yourself. In terms of co-regulation, for 2 or more people to support each other, there is co-breathing, mirroring movement, and mutually consensual touch, aka hugs. So I would invite you to think about what are some self and co-regulation tools that you already utilize, and maybe share that with your team as you're organizing actions in the future. So we talked about the OODA loop, we talked about our survival responses, we went into self and co-regulation techniques, and now what I want us to do is to do some self-reflection for a moment. We're going to do some 2-minute journaling, and you are going to answer one of 2 questions, or if you want to be um, super ace student, feel free to answer both. You're going to have 2 minutes, and if you're watching this after March 6th, feel free to pause right here and give yourself a 2-minute timer. So you're going to either share an example of how you've effectively utilized de-escalation and intervention at a protest or in your own life, or write down what does de-escalation and intervention mean to you. Feel free to write this down, or if you'd like to, you're welcome to drop it in the chat. Your 2 minutes start now. This is your 1 minute heads up. You have about 60 seconds left. All right, and we're arriving at time. If you're like, oh, I'm just writing this amazing piece, everyone that had registered for this will have a copy of the public link to this and all of the prompts, along with a worksheet that you can work from. I saw some folks share that they live in mega country. So every interaction is a form of de-escalation. Someone also shared that they can't imagine themselves listening to birdsong. That's real. Think about, take what is useful and leave what is not. I know for myself, I have a saved YouTube videos that I will listen to in order to get me back to a space of regulation. Whatever works for you to keep cool, calm, collected, and connected is really important. Let's see. So we're seeing Nancy, de-escalation to me would look like engaging in a conversation with the aggressor, whether toward me or the group. If that's how you want to engage, that's great. Make sure that you are prepared for that and you also have a plan of action to keep you safe in case it continues to escalate. Let's see. I'm seeing other folks. Summer Brady, 1250. My best de-escalation technique is to so far to genuinely asking someone if they would like a hug. If that has worked for you, that's great. I know for myself, I present as a cis male, and if I'm dealing with another cis male, that may not necessarily be my technique, but if that has worked for you, that's fantastic. Let's see. And yeah, other folks are just sharing other ways that they have de-escalated themselves. And once again, in this context, de-escalation is about getting to a place where you're cooling down and where you're self-regulated, where you're cool, calm, collected, and connected in order to be able to do a protective intervention or to intervene. Thank you, everyone. So just a note on de-escalation. De-escalation is, in essence, about power dynamics. It's about power with versus power over. What that means is if I am with my safety team comrades or with other organizers, that is power with each other. If we have a dude bro podcaster trying to incite one of us to say something on the camera, I will either check in with my comrade or my co-organizer and say, hey, are you good? And they'll say either yes or no, and then we'll kind of like take it from there. Versus power over, which is something that I see a lot of times. Folks want to try to de-escalate either the police, ICE, National Guard, or some other form of state security. And I will tell you that you can only de-escalate yourself and those you're in right relationship with. You cannot de-escalate the state or non-state actors intent on harm and violence. We de-escalate in order to be able to think clearly. We de-escalate in order to intervene. And when we're in this mode of intervention, we center the needs of the survivor when addressing violence. That means asking for consent. Hey, are you good? Can I support you? Do you need some help? Yes. Okay, what do I have to offer in this moment and what might they need? De-escalation is in essence, a preparation for intervention. So it is not the act itself, it is us getting to a state where we're able to intervene. And you might be asking, well, I went to a training and they told me that I can use this method to de-escalate others, or I can do this. If that has worked for you, that's great. I have trained thousands of folks, not just in the US, but abroad, and also have been at multiple front lines when state security have attacked folks very peaceful, from grandmothers pushing the strollers of their grandkids to indigenous water protectors and elders. And not once have I ever seen or been able to de-escalate someone that uh, uh, is intent on harm. But what I can do is to de-escalate myself and to think about what is the action that I want to take in this moment. Whether that was in, and these are all supposed to, on the deck itself, you'll see all of these as a video, but in each of these are cases where I have either worked alongside and been invited by communities to train them up on how to deal with state and non-state actor violence from a place of de-escalation and intervention. So basically, it's important to note that our identities and the intersections of all of our identities also shape the way that we de-escalate and intervene. I have found that older women and femmes, usually white, they may have white to gray hair and glasses, are some of the most effective interveners. Because when I'm, I don't want to, I shouldn't, I won't name names, but I will share that there are multiple folks around the country that I have learned from and worked with, older women and femmes, that have had to deal with all of this nonsense. And I think if folks here have mothers, grandmothers, aunts, uh, relatives that have had to deal with the patriarchy their entire life, I'm sure that they'll have some really solid advice on how to de-escalate yourself and to intervene. So in essence, I just want to get it across that it's important to think about how our identities show up. And in my experience being at the front lines, there has never been a moment when someone who looks like me has been able to de-escalate someone holding a gun to my face or to the face of my comrades. So it's important to think about, what do I need to do in order to keep cool, calm, collected, and connected? And what is the type of action that I need to do to keep myself and others safe? So we talked a lot about de-escalation, self-regulation, and co-regulation. I think this is a portion of the training where a lot of folks were like, okay, well, this is how I would de-escalate in this situation. These are actually called protective interventions, which is a term that was created by an organization called Nonviolent Peace Force. And they do this work all over the world. I used to work for them. They're fantastic. And they have been able to break down protective interventions into a range of actions. There's protective presence, protective accompaniment, and distraction. And lastly, I'm going to share a might be helpful acronym to how to engage safely with an action, or excuse me, with in a protective action. So protective interventions they run an entire range. But even before you go into a protective intervention, it's important to be able to kind of like know how you would respond to a situation, how your body responds to a situation, and how you can utilize yourself in that intervention. So what I want to invite folks to do is, you can either make some space between yourself and the computer, just to where you're able to either move about. For some folks, they may be rising up out of the chairs. For other folks, they may be in their wheelchairs or holding on to a assisted walking device. So what I want to invite you to do is, you're going to imagine yourself at an action this weekend or on Monday, and one of the most vilest people are yelling at you and the community, and you de-escalated yourself, and now you're going to intervene because you're starting to see them go after more marginalized folks in the community, or are basically bullying anyone that they might term as less powerful than them. So once again, you're a bit away from your computer. I invite you to ground yourself. That means getting to that place where you're cool, calm, collected, and connected. That means that you are not staring in you're not in tunnel vision. It also means that there is some fluidity where you can move as needed. You always want to make sure that the aggressor is in your line of sight. You never turn your back on an aggressor, right? The aggressor is within your line of sight, and you soften your gaze. As a soft gay myself, I utilize this a lot when I'm trying to protect myself from homophobic attacks. But that was a joke. So you soften your gaze. Then you want to have your hands to your side. That could be lowered, but essentially it's to show that I have no weapons, but also to be able to deflect in case someone tries to come at you. You want to stay, once again, beyond arm's length, hands to the side. Your knees or your position is as maneuverable as it can be. You have your dominant foot or your dominant wheel forward. This will help you pivot as needed. You want to maintain a controlled and vocal tone. You are not doing spoken word. You are not speaking really loud. You're keeping a controlled tone, because when you're controlling your tone, you're able to control your breathing, which means you're able to control your response. And then lastly, you want to engage safely. Feel free to go back in front of your computer. So what we're going to be doing is another workbook activity. You're going to have 60 seconds to do one word free association, and you're going to drop a word next to each of these terms. Presence, accompany, distraction, intervene, consent. And your 30 seconds start now. All right, feel free to drop any of your one-word responses in the chat, or just hold on to it for yourself. You're invited to share as you would please. So we talked about 3 forms of protective interventions. The first one is protective presence. In essence, protective presence works by shifting the power dynamic from the aggressed to you. This effectively creates a moment of pause by directly intervening and focusing on the aggressor. When I was training folks in New York following the rise of anti-Asian attacks, one of the things that we trained non-Asian allies on is that you're going to have to contain that energy and you consent into it. Some folks are very much like, oh, I've taken judo my entire life. Other folks are like, this is really scary. So it's important that we think about what our capacity is first and what we're able to engage in. So protective presence, it disrupts that flow. And in fact, someone had said it earlier in the chat, it is even the mere fact of holding up your phone to capture what is going on. It shifts the energy. And you're able to get documentation if there is aggression happening. So how do we do this? You turn your OODA loop on, so observe, orient, decide, and act. You're assessing the situation, what is going on. You engage with the survivor. Do you need support? Then you offer support based on your capacity. If you have never done any kind of de-escalation work, you can always ask, what do you need right now? In the past, when I've had to support folks outside of a protest safety context, it happens like getting that consent is really important, and narrating to the person that you're supporting is equally as important. So back in 2021, I remember being at Moynihan Station in New York. I was on my way to DC, ironically enough, to speak at a Stop Asian Hate rally. And I heard screaming to my left, and I saw an East Asian woman who was being slowly chased by someone that was having a mental health episode, and immediately clocked it. And I yelled as loudly as I can, "Christine, over here! We missed you earlier." Because I yelled, because I created that moment of pause, she was like, "Wait, do I actually know this person?" And the person that was following her was startled for a bit. And I came up, I was like, "My name's Kala. I see the person behind you. Do you want to come with me over here? I'll keep an eye out while we walk over here. Do you have any friends? Once again, my name is Kala. Uh, I know that this person is following you," and just like narrate with the person that you're supporting. By that mere shift in presence, we were able to support her and to make sure that I was able to get her to wherever her friends were in Moynihan Station. So protective presence is really that. It's being present and shifting the power dynamic. The second tactic is protective accompaniment. This is, in essence, protective presence in motion. How many of y'all have walked a friend home from the bar that might have had a few too many drinks? I definitely have. I've been the friend that folks have walked home from many bars and parties many, many years ago. And that is a form of protective accompaniment. By engaging with the person that is vulnerable, supporting their needs, letting them know, "Hey, we're going to go over here. Do you want to get some water?" And getting them home safe is how you practice protective accompaniment. The how in doing this is you once again assess the situation. If you're at an action and you see that someone is being harangued or harassed by you don't know who they are, but they clearly look like they're holding a you know smash a patriarchy or crush ICE sign, and they're getting harassed by someone who is getting way too close to them. Protective accompaniment looks like assessing the situation, turning on your OODA loop, checking in with a person. "Hey, Christine, how's it going? Love your sign. Thank you so much for being at the art build last night." Whatever you need to do in order to intervene, check in with the person. Their main name might not be Christine. By the way, the person I was supporting, her name was not Christine. And to get them out of that situation. And it's important for them to tell you how they want to be supported. If you are supporting someone, I don't know how many folks here, but I know in the past, well-intentioned folks have tried to support me, and it basically caused more harm than good. No one ever wants to have their agency and autonomy either questioned or compromised in a way where you swoop in. We don't need white knights, right? What we do need is community and solidarity. And what that looks like is asking for consent before you support and listening to the person that needs the support. Some people, in 2021, I was on the ground at an action in Minnesota, where following the murder of Dante Wright by Kim Potter, and the community was understandably enraged, and state security came out in full force and was using baton rounds, pepper balls, pepper spray, tear gas, flashbangs, the whole kit and caboodle. And there was actually a number of people there that needed support to get out. There was a group of 3 young Black men who looked like they were not even college age, and they were like, "We need to get out of here." We had our safety vests on, we were clearly identifiable. And what we did is we created a protective bubble around them and got them from the front line of the action past the police line to their cars, which was quite far away. Another example of this was there was a pregnant person who was there as well. did not know it was going to turn out this way, was visiting Minneapolis for that week to see family, and was staying at a hotel, and just happened to want to show up in solidarity. And there was tear gas, pepper spray, everything was going off, and came up to us and was like, "Can you please help me get out of here?" Immediately contacted her family, made sure that she wasn't hit with anything or injured or had any residual tear gas or pepper spray, and got her home to to her hotel. So protective accompaniment, in essence, is moving with the person that's being aggressed and supporting them based on what their needs are and getting them to a safer location. And then there's another protective intervention that I really love and that I've seen folks do really creatively is uh, protective interventions through destruction. So, in essence, this is creating a moment of pause in order to directly intervene, address a survivor, and then focus on the aggressor. The way that you would do this, once again, is assess the situation, turn on your OODA loop, distract, engage, and then depart. And this will look a whole host of ways. So some examples is if I see an aggressor starting to heat up and to really target someone that is clearly not in relationship with them, I'll be like, hey bro, what time is it? You have a great watch. I don't have my phone on me. Most times folks will check their watch. Or if you say, oh my gosh, this works really well for right-wing podcast bros. Oh my God, are you famous? I think I saw you on TikTok. They will stop their gotcha interview, and you can then check in with the person being aggressed. Compliments, pretending you lost something. The classic, oh, is that $1 on the floor? To singing. All of these tactics help to create that moment of pause where you can then assess how you can support the person being aggressed and then move through based on your capacity. Take a moment for some tea. So we talked about protective presence, protective accompaniment, protection through distraction, and then lastly, we're going to be talking about how to engage safely. So SAFELY stands for situational awareness on. You want to assess the situation, basically what is happening in this moment. You want to figure out what your capacity is. What are you able to do? I've had folks at trainings who have been doing these type of protective actions for many, many years, be like, oh, this is what I'm going to do because I have this training. I've had folks who are very, very new say, oh, can I try this? There's no prescription on how folks engage. You know best what your capacity is. And I want to just invite you to kind of like rely on and think about what your training is, what you're able to do. Some folks might only be able to scream from across the street and record, which we have seen has been able to collect evidence for trials that will one day be happening at the ICJ, to documenting human rights abuses by ICE and other state security forces. So figure out what your capacity is and what you're able to do. Then engage based on your capacity and make sure to get consent. Listen to what the survivor needs in that moment. Some folks may be like, you know what, I'm good. I don't need you. I don't know you. Leave me alone. Then that's totally fine. Leave them alone. And then lastly, you provide what the survivor needs based on your capacity. Because myself and my team had several cars at the action I described earlier, we were able to get this pregnant person in a car with the other team members who are women and femmes in order to make sure that we're cultivating a space of safety. Because this person did not know who we were. We did not know who this person was. The only thing that we knew that moment is that they are a pregnant person being exposed to weapons, chemical weapons that are outlawed by the Geneva Convention in the use of war. So once again, you want to engage safely. situational awareness on, assess the situation, figure out your capacity, engage based on your capacity and get consent, listen to what the survivor needs in that moment, and provide what the survivor is asking for based on that capacity. So we are actually going to do some Q&A. I think we have about 5 minutes left.
We do.
And I'll pass it back to my comrade Risa.
Yeah. So I just want to shout out, we have some like SNCC OGs here tonight. Y'all have been contributing in the chat. Everybody's been so lively and part of this conversation, talking about the ways that you self-regulate, you de-escalate. And it is so great to have you all in the community. Don't forget, we are always looking for volunteers here at Women's March. So if this is your skill set and this is your area, come talk to us. Now, we do have some questions. Yes, I'll answer this one really fast. Will you put the link to the worksheet in the chat? We are going to be sending this as a resource. We're going to be sending all these resources via email to everyone who signed up. So if you didn't sign up before, that sign up link is still out there. Make sure you use that. Is this going to be available later in the video outside of Facebook? Yes, it's going to be on YouTube. In fact, it's the same link that you could join from YouTube. And after the fact, it does take up captions too. It just, has to process. So yes, it will be on YouTube as well. And also, this comment just really brought me joy. I'm really glad we're all here. We are too. Thanks. So, let's get into some questions. We had some really great comments. A lot of you have actually really been in the thick of all of this. If we had more time, I would highlight some of what y'all have experienced and the reason that we're here. But let's go with this question. What do you do if your response didn't work well for you? Can you change responses?
That's a really great question. I would reframe it in terms of maybe it did not work well in that situation, but I would really caution folks from being too self-critical, like, oh, I should have done this, because that is a form of PTSD and something that I've experienced in the past where I'm like, oh, I should have protected my team better. Oh, I should have made sure that, we didn't get rocked by the Chinese military. So one, I just want to invite you to be gentle with yourself. First of all, we shouldn't even be having this training. I think folks have said that multiple times in the chat. We shouldn't have to be preparing ourselves and our communities for state violence in this moment. So for Jen Durham, I just want to say, please be gentle with yourself. You can definitely change your responses very consciously, but I just want to say not but rather and. There are trainings that I do that are in person that actually puts you in that state where you can see if you're able to pivot to another response. So yes, it's possible to change, but more importantly, please give yourself grace. No one should have to do this. Yeah, I think that's why we're all here, right? I've been fighting back since the 90s. This is not new to folks who have been had our countries occupied by the U.S. government. This is not new to Indigenous folks, to Black folks. This is not new to women, femmes, trans folks, folks in the LGBTQ plus community. So I think this is a really great question. I think what I'm hearing is like the invitation, how do we fight back together? And this is a first step by learning, by building relationships, and by actually thinking about what is the world that we want to live in.
All right. And I think we have about time for about one more. Actually, this one's more of a comment, but I think you can expand on this a bit. Having become an old lady myself, I can ask, does your mother know you did this?
Who do you think I learned this from? My mom is one of the best organizers I've ever met. She's who I learned how to build right relationship with folks. And she does an amazing job of de-escalating herself and moving from a place of asking questions especially within a context of conflict resolution. So yeah, my mom definitely knows. She'd rather me be a lawyer or a doctor or, quite frankly, anything else, but this is what I do.
Actually, I'll recontextualize this question because I'm pretty sure that this one is about older ladies having that privilege of like safety in crowds, but that is so cool to learn more about you too. So thank you, everyone. We are at time. It has been a pleasure to be here with you tonight. Kala, as ever, thank you so much for your wisdom, your grace, and for sharing your knowledge with us to keep all of us safer. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on a Friday night. Go be safe out there. Take action for International Women's Day weekend. You can find something near you at bravewomen.us. Make sure to go find that. And we will see you out there in these streets tomorrow and Sunday. Thanks so much. See you next time.